Welcome to the Fabulous Fifties and Beyond. My name is Jim Pollard with my co-host Jeanetta, and our guest today is Hooper, and we're going to be talking about Harleys and motorcycles and the excitement that is being generated with the over 50 group. You stay tuned and we'll be right back.
And he'd say, go with what you got. Start from where you are. Give it your best shot. Keep reaching for that star. Get in the race. Keep your own pace. Keep moving and never stop. Just go. Go with what you got.
Welcome back. I'm Jim Pollard, your co-host. Today we're going to be talking about motorcycles and the excitement and the enthusiasm, I guess, and the great interest in people over 50. And Hooper is our guest, and Hooper is director of the Harley Owners Association here in West Kentucky.
Yes.
I guess one of the reasons that there is a big interest in people over 50 is maybe they can finally afford one.
Well, yes, really, you're right. Motorcycles, the Harleys especially, are quite expensive, but they are. Now we're getting into a point where the baby boomers, to say it right, now their kids are up and grown and gone, and they can buy a motorcycle and they can ride. And then you can get into the gas situation with most normal motorcycles that get 40 to 45 miles to a gallon versus 20 miles to a gallon in a car. It's pretty economical nowadays on a motorcycle. So,
I know we were talking before we started the show. I don't know that I'd ever want to ride a two-wheeler, but I've always had an interest in a three-wheeler, a trike, because that's something that we could do together.
Sure. Now there are several companies all around the country that can take any motorcycle and turn it into a trike. And I see a lot of retired couples that are coming in, and as you say, don't really want to hold up the two wheels, but there's companies around that can, of course, for a little more money, can make your motorcycle that you picked and you like, turn it into a trike.
Somebody told me that there are kits that you could even buy
Yes,
now.
sir. Yes, sir. You buy a kit. The back end is painted to match your bike, and it comes in just one box, and it's a matter of depending, of course, I'm going to say take it to a dealer and let them put it together, but some of the kits I've seen here lately you could bolt together in your garage if you were mechanically inclined.
And they become a four-wheeler then, right?
Well, close to it. It's the leftover parts that sort of scares you sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Right. But you said they can be very expensive.
They can. The average motorcycle now can run you as much as a car, and then trike kits can run anywhere from $6,000–7,000 up into the $15,000 to $20,000 range, and that's on top of the price of a motorcycle, depending on what you decide to buy, what kind, and all that kind of stuff. Most trikes are going to run you around the $30,000 mark by the time you get done, so that's quite an expensive endeavor for most people.
Of course, I had a friend of mine that bought a new bike last year and said the bike wasn't the expensive part, it was all the chrome he put on it after he dressed it out.
There's no limit nowadays to what you can put on them as far as chrome. And I tell people, if you put every bit of chrome on your bike, then it's time to trade bike, start over again. There's no end to it.
No end to it, huh?
No, sir, there's not.
Well, tell us about some of the rider education programs, because I know we've seen that on TV, and it seems to be pretty prevalent now, and it seems to be a lot of interest in it.
It is, and I tell everyone that's been riding, I take a rider's education course every 2 years, and I've been riding 20 plus years, but it keeps me a lot up to date on what's going on and out there. Four Rivers Harley Davidson here in town, give a little plug for them. Harley Davidson Motor Company has a Rider's Edge program. It's a 4-day course that someone can come in off the street, whether you've never rode a motorcycle or not, and in 4 days they'll have you riding around a parking lot on a bike. And then there's also one that's offered right here at the school through the state. Both are accredited, helps you on your insurance, it helps you get your permit for a motorcycle. Both are excellent courses, and I tell everybody that they ought to take one, even if they rode all their life or they're just getting into it, they need to take a course first. That's the safety aspect of it. They teach you all those little tricks.
You said something about a permit. Is it a special license to ride a motorcycle?
Yes, sir. Kentucky has a permit that you're required to take a written test. You hold it, I believe it's 90 days, And then just like in an automobile for a young person, there's a course that they have to ride through with an instructor standing there and grading you, and you have to pass that course before you can get your license.
That's
So,
unique. I did not know that. Did
yes,
not realize that.
a lot of people are not aware that the motorcycle takes a separate license, a different license.
Now, do you take long trips on your bike?
Yes, ma'am. Last month I rode to San Diego, California, and back on mine. I ride a 2001 Harley Electra Glide Classic, one of the big dressers. My wife and I have been all over the country on it, and we both enjoy it.
So she usually travels with you?
Yes, ma'am.
On the
She
bike?
she doesn't ride her own. I've told
She
her.
rides with you?
She rides with me. And there are a lot of ladies that like to do that, but here in the last couple of years, we're seeing a lot of ladies start to ride their own bikes.
Well, that's how we found out about you. Was one of our friends, who is a lady who rides her bike.
Rides her own bike.
Well
Yes, she
done.
does.
Yes.
And she will go anywhere. Her and her husband Rick, they'll go anywhere they just get a notion to go see. They're all.
Yeah.
So
That's interesting. Do you go as a group sometimes, or?
oh, well, being with the Harley Owners Group like I am, and all of them have them, the Hondas, the Yamahas, they have groups together of certain bikes, and they'll have rallies, or they'll just go on a ride to like Sturgis, the big bike rally up in the Dakotas, or Daytona down for the bike week down there. It can vary. You can go as a group if you've got a bunch of your friends together to all ride down together. And then a lot of times running down the highway, you'll just see one or two of them together, So it's, it's just like in a car. It's always safer to have somebody else with you instead of being by yourself, naturally.
Well, I would think for the visibility even,
Sure.
but also that safety part of the visibility, it's a lot easier if you see two instead of one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Or even four. It's a
Yeah,
whole lot
four, or
easier.
the more the better.
Yeah, right. Well, I was thinking about your education program as you were talking. She always says, that I can parallel park, and she can't. But I learned how to parallel park in a driving education course. That's how I
Exactly.
learned how to do it. And so these things, they just kind of stay with you.
Yes, sir, they do. The classes are excellent. And like I say, I take them every couple of years. I'll take it again just to keep myself up on new laws or new things like that.
Well, safety is so important.
Yes, ma'am, it is
Especially
now.
on a motorcycle.
On a motorcycle, you are, and as much as I say it, just the nature of it, you're more apt to get hurt in a collision or whatever just because you don't have the protection of a car. So some of the things that we push hard is of course the full helmet, long sleeves, gloves, good boots, long pants, the whole 9 yards. And on a motorcycle, your senses are alive anyway, so you're paying more attention to what's out there and around you. And I think that may be, I don't know how to explain it, a little bit of why some older people are starting to ride again, because it makes them feel a little better. And that's, it wakes their senses up a little. So.
Yeah. Do you have a club for the older riders, or is it just?
Oh no,
Everybody.
I don't. I don't think there is just for older riders. We welcome in. We've got members in our club from 20 years old. I've got several that are in their 70s and still ride with us all the time.
In their 70s?
Yes, sir.
Of course, I'm 72, and I'm talking about a trike. So,
Yeah.
but they ride the two-wheelers?
Some of them do, and I've got several that are on the trikes that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And the motorcycle public now they're from all walks of life. And we've got lawyers, doctors, policemen, everybody in our association. That's just a good bunch of people because we all share that common ride there. So it's just a good thing to be in.
Well, it's interesting that the people that are taking it up now,
Yes, sir.
and are getting involved in it.
Motorcycles are a lot more accepted now than they were 25 years ago. And there's so many more colors and chrome, like we spoke about earlier. It's years ago it was either black or white, whatever you had. And the bike show is a big thing now. These people, they buy their bikes to dress them up, just like they used to do the old cars, and they would show them at shows all over the country.
So
they like doing that.
So they
too.
have big bike shows now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That they do.
Well, I have to tell you that we used to think of them as gangs, and they had a really negative.
Hollywood hurt motorcycles, like I'm sure everybody knows, years ago with their movies, the B movies they put out, and I think we've gone beyond that now. Motorcycles in general now, like I said, you'll see them everywhere, and they're quick to want to talk about their bikes and stuff like that. So it's
Of course,
a pretty neat
the
world.
interesting thing is that 30 years ago, I guess it's at least 30 years ago, I knew some of the Hells Angels riders, and they were friends of mine. They weren't all bad, if you know what
totally.
I'm saying. And they would do anything for you if they were your friend. That was the thing about it, do anything for you. Well, listen, believe it or not, we're finished with the first half here. We're gonna take a break, and Jeanetta and Pam are gonna talk to us about nutrition.
Okay.
So you stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
We welcome back Pam Ward today. Pam is a registered dietitian at Western Baptist Hospital here in Paducah. And we always look forward to what you have to share with us, Pam. So what are you going to talk to us about today?
Well, today I want to talk about obesity in the South. I don't know if you saw, but at the end of August they released some statistics, and they were, for this area, they were
Not
pretty
good.
right.
Not
They're pretty
good.
disheartening. We have way too many people that are overweight is what it boils down to. We were 7th, Kentucky was 7th in the nation as far as obesity. And obviously that's not a list we want to be, near the top of, and we're way too high up in the list. And we're looking at, it's not just a matter of appearance, it's a matter of health, it's a matter of how much you enjoy your life. It's hard when you're a large person. You can't do the things that a smaller person can do. You run the risks of all sorts of chronic health problems that you probably wouldn't be at nearly as high risk if you were a smaller person. So it's a big concern.
Yes, obesity is very detrimental to our health, and it's just...
It is. It's to our quality of life, to the length of our lives. It's a really scary thing, and to see us that high was rather disheartening as a healthcare professional. Part of it is, of course, the diet we eat. Mississippi led the nation. They were number 1. All the higher states were south, and that's obviously a big part of the way we eat. We eat fried, we eat gravies, we eat margarine. We like all those things, and it's caught up with us. Years ago, our activity levels, we worked a lot harder physically, so we could eat those things and perhaps get away with it. But now most of us are pretty sedentary. Our jobs are pretty sedentary, and we've not changed how we've eaten, or if we have, it's in a negative way that we've changed it. So we're continuing to take in the same amount of calories or more, and we're doing a lot less physically, and it's caught up with us. We are, as a population, getting much larger.
And that is definitely not good. But it is a shame that it's the southern states, isn't it?
It is. And as I said, a big part of it obviously is our diet, but another part of it is our activity level. We're just not very active. One of the statistics they released that I was really surprised about, there were 4 states that had more than 30% of their population that said they had had no physical activity in the last 30 days. And one of the 4 was Kentucky, and another was Tennessee.
Everybody needs some kind of exercise.
We do, and we are such a society for the easy way. We laugh, but we have remote controls for our TV. We park as close as we can get somewhere. We take the elevator up 1 floor, or we take it down 1 floor. I've seen people at the hospital stand and wait to take an elevator up 2 floors, and
rather than walk
it. And it really is. It's scary what we're looking at in the future if we don't get a handle on this.
Because isn't this probably the main reason for heart problems?
Oh, between Kentucky's smoking rate and their obesity rate, it's no wonder we have the heart disease that we have.
And that is definitely not good.
That is definitely not good. And Mississippi, as I said, they led the nation, and they are trying to make some big changes, and they're starting in the right place. They're starting with their youth. They're trying to sort of change the flow of this, and hopefully some of the other states, including Kentucky, will follow lead. For example, Mississippi has passed a law that all students through 8th grade must have at least 30 minutes of physical activity or have PE a day.
Well, we always had that when we were in school.
We did, but now it's not mandatory. It's up to the school, each individual school system. It's up to their whim whether they do or not. They also are requiring 45 minutes of health education a week. And hopefully, as we teach people, if you don't lose weight or if you don't control your weight, these are the things that can happen. It'll give us a little bit of a boost or a little, incentive to get this under control.
And it does need to be taught in the schools. That's where they, train up a child.
You're right, but they also need to see it at home. If they're watching me drive around for 5 minutes to get a parking spot that's 6 spaces closer, or they're watching me stand there and wait for an elevator to go up 2 floors.
Rather than walking.
Right. It doesn't really matter, I don't think, so much what they're learning at school because they're watching us.
They watch.
And they do. I've learned with my little boy, he watches everything I do. So we need to watch what we're doing and think about it because it's not just affecting us, it's affecting our children or our grandchildren, nieces, nephews, whoever it is we spend time with. But we as a state have got to do something because we are looking at not only health problems down the road, but we're looking at financial issues too because all these health problems have to be paid for. All the medical care has to be paid for. And the state's going to end up paying for a great deal of it. So it's a horrible situation all the way around.
So, I think I've seen families that bicycle together. Everybody has their own bicycle and their helmets and all, and they
anything that you
bicycle.
can do as a family, it's no lose. You get to spend time together. You're a good example to your children. They're learning good habits. Anything like that. We just bought a trampoline for my little guy, and trampoline's fun, but it's much more fun if mom or dad are up there with him too. He much prefers it that way. So he's going to get more activity if we participate too.
And those, I think that's good for your joints, isn't it?
It
Jumping
is.
on a trampoline.
Well, and bone density. It's kind of, although it's not weight bearing, it's sort of that type of exercise. So it's good. It's good for his coordination. It's good. It's good for bone density. Obviously, it expends a tremendous amount of calories, and he loves it. So it's a good option. But every family can find something that they like to do.
Right. And as you get older, you really have to think about your bones.
Oh, I'm learning in your joints. Yeah, they're catching up with me.
Yes. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us today, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
I'll be here.
Welcome back. Our guest today is Hooper, and we're talking about Harley motorcycles, or just motorcycles in general, I guess.
There you go.
Anything that's got 2 wheels, as you said.
Yes.
And today a lot of them have got 3 wheels, which we've talked about. But I know that the local riders do a lot of charity work. A lot.
Yes, sir. They do.
A lot. Share some of the things that they do, some of the different programs, some of the different things they're involved in.
Well, one of the main things locally that we do, of course, Harley Davidson is the motor company itself is a big supporter of MDA. So the local here in town, we have a MDA run in June every year. But getting back to the local aspects of it, we also stage a fundraiser, a poker run bike show for the Easter Seal Center. We do one for Paducah Cooperative Ministry here in town. And then a couple of the other groups, the Southern Cruisers and some of the other motorcycle groups in town have their own local charity. And they'll stage bike runs and poker runs and things all summer long at different times, always raising money for local, usually it's for the underprivileged kids or families that are falling on hard times. We try to help each other, especially right here in our area. So works out pretty good. Next month, in November, we're staging, or a group is staging the Bikers Toy Run. This is the 23rd year for them. They collect money and toys and clothes for kids right here in this area, around I think 3-state area, which has been going on, like I said, for 23 years. And we'll have 300-400 motorcycles show up for that, even in November. And they've staged that event when it was snowing and cold, and they still show up. Motorcycles have a big heart. They don't mind giving.
What's the building that you were talking about that y'all are building right now?
Four Rivers Harley Davidson's building a new building out on the interstate. The one that we made reference to earlier is Main Street Youth Center over in Murray.
Okay.
For the kids over there. We recently staged a poker run and a bike show for the Janine Dempsey Memorial Fund. And they have a building over there that's going to be used for the kids again over there that we're helping them remodel, so to speak, and get it to where they can use it. And we're hoping that the construction of it and all that will take place here in the near future and about get it ready for those kids.
What is a poker run?
Poker run is pretty well, you pay like $10 for a hand, and you draw a card out of a bucket, a blind draw, and then you're given a route, and it's usually 75 to 80 miles, and you follow the instructions, and on that route there are 3 stops out there, and at each stop you stop and you draw another card. And when you get back to where you started from, you drew your 5th card, and you just check those cards, and top hand wins. Usually give a nice trophy or something like that for the winner of the poker runs.
Okay.
And it's a good fundraiser. It gives them something to do, and they get out and take a ride through the country. So,
Well, I knew that I knew it had something to do with cards and a hand. And I think at one time one of the stops for the poker run was right down the street from us. We live in Kaler.
yes, sir.
And it was down at Hancock's grocery store, I think.
The local businesses here in Paducah and the surrounding area in Grace County and all around here, we'll go to them and ask them, may we use your parking lot for a stop? And it's business for them. It's good business for them. We
Right.
pick one that's got bathrooms and a cold drink and fuel if you need it. And all the businesses in this area support us big time, and we appreciate it. We do.
Talk about the toy run in detail, kind of. How old did you say that toy run is?
I believe this is the 23rd year.
Wow.
And that started with a young man who's no longer with us, Keith Ford, approached the city about doing this back then when motorcycles, like we said, wasn't as popular. And I'm glad to say I was one of his friends and sort of in with him on the first one. That's not bragging. He done it. We just helped him. He got the city to okay it, but they watched real quick to see what was going on. At the time, where the Bikers Toy Run is staged is Discount City. It was Walmart at that time. They sort of questioned letting these motorcycles congregate on their parking lot. The first year, I think, may have had 30 or 40 bikes. And I know we had a little over 400 just a couple of years ago on a nice day. We've had as many as 200 and 300 on a day in November when it was cold and spitting snow. Those toys and the money that we've collected over the year are turned over to the family services here in town. A lady, Sandra Lynn, used to be our contact that we worked with. A sweetheart, helped us a whole lot over the years. And like I said, we're getting ready to do, I think, the 23rd ones this year.
How does it work?
There's not really, it's other than donations. Whatever you donate, you show up at Discount City, and I think it's the 3rd Saturday in November. You have to have a toy or donate a little something, and most of the riders will strap the toy to their bike. So that day you're going to see motorcycles riding around with teddy bears and toys strapped to their bike. And they congregate at Discount City on Irving Copp Drive. The police lead them around Paducah, down the downtown loop, and into Noble Park. And there is where the Department of Family Services have some people there, and we turn everything over to them there. And then after that, they have a bike show there at Noble Park for people to look at the bikes and all that. And then there's a gathering, usually at one of the local restaurants or something around town after that, for everybody just to get together. And it's totally free for the public to come out and see all the toys and see what they're doing, and it's just a good day.
Well, I'm sure the kids love seeing the bikes.
They love it.
And the bikers.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
So it's a plus for them, plus they get some
Plus,
toys.
some kids that may not
Get
be in a
anything?
position to get anything, we're helping them make sure they do get something for Christmas, whether it be clothes or mom and dad some money or some toys, whatever it takes.
Now, did you say that there's like hundreds that participate in that now?
Every year. I think the high number so far was right at 500 one year.
Wow.
That took, we had bikes pulling into Noble Park with some still coming out of Discount City.
Wow.
And I say we, there's Don and Ann Albritton, some local people, have been putting this together for the last 12 to 13 years. and they spearhead it, and they get all the donations for door prizes to give away at the end of the day and the trophies. They do an excellent job, very dedicated people. Both riders have been for years. They keep this thing going, and it's, I know from back then how much of a job that is. So it takes a lot of time and footwork to get
Anything like that takes number one, an organizer, somebody that's committed to it,
Mm-hmm.
and then it does take a lot of time and a lot of work to put it together.
Yes, it
A lot of
does.
people don't realize that something is a big success, but there's a lot of work
Yes.
behind it to make it a success by some individuals and everything.
Yeah. I know from Don that in November when this one takes place, that evening he's already in his mind, well, next year we're going to do this, or we're going to make, you
Right.
know, the planning for it starts immediately after,
Mm-hmm.
year to year.
When it's big, you have to do that.
Yes, ma'am, sure do. Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, Hooper, we've really enjoyed this. I think I've got an education about some of the things here. We ask questions, and I hope we ask questions that the audience wanted to know. You know, that everybody needed. Like, what is a poker run, or how about the different, and the education program I think was real good
Education
too.
is
Now that's open to anybody whether they have a bike or not, isn't it?
You do not have to own a motorcycle to take one of these courses. They will furnish a bike, and
Well, that's what I thought I'd heard.
they will put you in a class for a couple of days, or
Yeah.
a couple of evenings, I should say, to where you can read the books and see the films, and an instructor that is accredited through the state will sit and talk to you about certain aspects of the bike. And then usually it's usually a Thursday night or Friday night, and then on Saturday you show up, and they're going to put you on a bike and sort of get you not on the road. You're going to be in a controlled environment.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Anybody can take it over.
Well, listen, we appreciate you being here with us today, and
appreciate
believe it or
you
not,
having me.
we're out of time. But again, it is good to know these things, and I want to tell our audience, when you see a biker out there, be careful, because if it's one, and I know this happens a lot of times. They say, "Well, I didn't see the bike." Well, you got to be aware that they're out there.
Yes,
you got to look. So we want you to do that, and we want to remind you to come back next week. We'll have another program, one that we know that you'll be interested in. We try to bring you what's happening in the community and what you need to know about in the community. And again, it's been good to have you here on the Fabulous Fifties today. And remember now, use it or lose it.
Can't see as well as I used to. Can't run as far or as fast. Sometimes I think that the old me is becoming